Hello, Don here. Once again, I want to thank you for sharing this information from Podiatry Practice Mastery with a friend. And as I promised, this is going to be a special bonus section that's just for you that you've sent someone to me to get their practice better. And basically, I want to start with a little bit of a backstory. I've always been interested in practice management, even from back in the days at Scholl. I was always looking at the annals of podiatry management and always trying to learn more. Even before that, I used to joke around. I got my first interest in making things easier, like life hacking and practice hacking, when I was even younger. I was a magician, and it was the first time I realized when I can do like a 30-minute magic show and make $100, it was great. So I've always been interested in these entrepreneurial activities, reading different types of books. And my main bonus for you, I want to share a couple of things. I'm going to share actually three things. One is I'm going to share my most important habit that works for me to make progress in my life. The second thing is I'm going to share the most important books that I've read. And the third is I'm going to share some information about like coaching and things like that that you might find beneficial. Okay. So number one, I want to share my morning routine. And I wrote this down for you. This is something that's taken me years to develop. I want to explain what I used to do. What I used to do is if I had to be at work at 8 o'clock, I used to get up at 7:30 and I went right to work and I started to work, and that was about it. There was no prior thought. There was no preparation. There's a good book, a couple of good books that are out there. One's by Hal Enrod, where he talks about miracle morning. And I've always read about different ideas of starting your morning well. You know, ideas they don't really sink in the first time. So when you're listening to this, and when you've listened to anything that I've produced, you may have heard it multiple times before, but it usually takes a certain number of times before it actually makes an impact in you. And this whole idea of a miracle morning or having a really good morning routine took me a while to figure it out. Okay. And I wasn't always doing it. I was either too busy with my kids. I had too many other distractions. I wasn't going to bed early enough. I didn't have a real purpose. But a few things that help me out. Okay. I do two workouts. I work out Mondays and Fridays. I do a boot camp at 5:30 in the morning. And then I usually go into my jacuzzi. That's kind of like it's called habit stacking. That's from the book called Atomic Habits, okay, where they talk about habit stacking. Then I'll do a bulletproof coffee, which is basically butter and coffee and things like that. It kind of gets me going. So I do that Monday and Friday. The other days, I don't do that. I just kind of get up earlier and then I do this morning routine. So usually the morning routine includes a cold shower. You're going to think I'm crazy, but there's some research with Wim Hof is his name. And he talks about doing a cold shower. I do that for 2 or 3 minutes in the morning. Then what I do is I read different things. So first of all, I read the Bible. I have my morning ritual where I can read through the whole Bible in a year. I might write down some things about what I'm reading. Then what I do is I go into my 5-minute journal, which is called a gratitude journal. And that really, really helps me get focused with gratitude and kind of planning my day. But actually, the night before, within the gratitude journal, it talks about what are the 3 wins you're going to have for the next day. And I actually start it the night before where I talk about that. Next thing, what I do is after I do the gratitude journal, and then what I'll do is I'll like journal within this thing. This is my actual journal right here, where I'm writing down different ideas. I'll plan the day, and I usually do some type of learning in the morning. Okay, that's when my mind is the freshest, and this learning has really helped me a lot. Now, that's what I want to focus on. I think we learn a lot in residency. We learn a lot in practice, but if we're not exposed to new ideas, we're not going to be able to learn. So if I could pass one thing that's really, really helped me a lot is to expand my knowledge. And this can be any way. But what I find is what we tend to do is we tend to do the shallowest type of learning, which is maybe Googling it, looking on the internet, looking for YouTube videos, where it's much more effective to pay for your learning. This is what I found. So, and it might be something not even that expensive. Normally it's through books that I do, usually books, courses. I do I get coached as well. So those are ways I go to conferences. But what I find, I don't know about you, but I have a family, I have my work, I have other obligations. And for me to get away and do a lot of other type of courses on things, I just don't have the time. I've tried, I currently have a like kind of a goal buddy where we talk once a month and we put that in our agenda and we say kind of what's working, what's not working. I've done masterminds in the past. I've been part of BNI in the past. And currently I'm in something called Strategic Coach. But what's most important for me is my own personal learning. So that's what I do in the morning, is that morning time I will spend it learning. And what I'm going to show you, and then I document or I journal about what I'm learning. I kind of write it down in my journal and what actions I'm going to take. And then now with this podcast, I'll podcast about it. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is different types of books and kind of what are some of the highlight ideas that you can get. And then I'm going to show you some other type of tools that have really helped me as well. Okay, so let me share my screen here. So this is my Audible account. And you can see here, I have, in terms of credits, what I tend to do and find works best for me is I get 2 credits, okay, a month, okay? Let me just pause this here. And this is my library here within Audible. And I actually get 1 credit. I get 2 credits a month. So I read at least 2 books a month. Why do I read? Well, once again, one of the things that's really, really helped me is making use of unused time. If I can emphasize one thing, it's not about working more. It's about using this unused time. A kind of an experience, and I learned this kind of in school. What I found is with school, I wanted to do my studies and I want to get home and I want to forget about studies. So I used to always kind of study the whole time I was there. I went from one test to another test, but when I got home at 5 or 6 o'clock, I wanted to separate it. So I do that. I don't do anything at nights. I don't do anything on the weekends with these, even Podiatry Practice Mastery and these ideas. But I like to make the most use of my time. So a lot of times that's listening to things when I'm in my car. That's what I always do. I don't listen to news. I don't listen to sports. I don't listen to anything else. I'm always listening to learn, to improve. And if you can do that one thing, and also between patients, like you have a lot of time between patients, that's where you can learn, you can listen, you can work on things, you can work on your projects, you can make your videos, other things like that. Just making use of unused time can earn you hours and hours. And then staying away from like email. One of my best tips is I don't check my email till noon. So I don't even go there. And then I I limit the time to like 10 minutes if I'm going to look at it. And I just try to do all of my email during that one time. I'm not looking at it multiple times. I don't have any social media. A lot of people do these Facebook groups. I don't even have Facebook, so I don't want to be on it. Maybe in the future, we might do something else with a different medium. But so let's get into these books here. Okay. So this is the current one that I'm listening. It's called Personality Isn't Permanent. It's by Benjamin Hardy. Great book. What he talks about, a couple of things, is when you look at things from your past, you want to see why that happened for me. Okay. Versus like being a victim. It's kind of learning from the past and then being really intentional about what your future is. It's a great book. He's got that 30-day, it's a 30-day course as well. That's free. And it's a great way to learn. And I've learned a lot of things, and I journaled all those here. And then as I'm learning things in the books, I'm writing these down so that I can share them. I think learning is good, but when we share it with others, it even makes it better. This is one by Peter Thiel, and it's from 0 to 1. What he talks about here is, in terms of with startups, the most important thing is having kind of a crazy idea that people think is kind of out there, and then only do that one idea. What happens is all of us, we want to be great at everything. But if you really focus in on one, it's going to be a lot better. So for example, within podiatry, if you wanted to be really good at surgery, you could do that. If you want to be really good at shockwave, just do that. You can't be good at everything. That's why certain people, the ones that do really, really well, they focus on one thing. If it's dermatology or if it's something else like that, figure out what your one thing is and really, really focus and be the best at that. And then the ideas are usually the ones that are a little bit crazy. So in my experience, what I find within Podiatry Practice Mastery, kind of the one kind of not weird idea, but idea that no one else kind of uses are these patient presentations. For me, that it's been a practice changer. So that's like the one thing that I think is going to distinguish kind of what I do is making these presentations. A couple of these are the ones I've downloaded. Basically, when you sign up for Audible, you can download other books. And I'm going to be doing those. These are on my list, the ones I haven't read already. Now, this is one that I've read recently. This is a great book. Okay. Alex, he had like this gym business and he learned how to launch gyms and he really, really helped people. But the neat thing is he went in and he did these 21-day turnarounds where he took a gym and he turned it around. The neat thing is he put his own money in there. The only thing he got was with each new customer, he got that customer, but then they get to keep that customer for life. So it's kind of a neat arrangement. And I thought about, like, within podiatry, if there's a way of doing that. Like, a lot of times when you hire an agency, what they say is, well, you pay us a 500 a month, we'll do 500 in AdWords, and whatever you get. Wouldn't it be great if there was an agency or a person that kind of went in with you and said, hey, I'll do all, you do the ad spend, whatever patients come in, I get, let's say, I don't know if your per visit value is $100, I get $100 per visit, but then you get to keep them for life. I'm like, that would be a cool method of doing it. And this is what he talks about in this book. I haven't read the caffeine book. I want to read, I've read a couple of Michael's books before. This is what I'm reading right now in the Lessons of History. I have a few books that I keep for the weekend. Once again, I try not to listen to business books on the weekend, but this is the one that I'm listening. This was the free download. Now, Russell has some great books. I've listened to all of his books. .com Secrets. This talks about growing your online business. This is a way of growing your YouTube. What I do with my Dr. Pelto. He has great ideas in here. The main thing here is he teaches you how to think like an entrepreneur, and he takes a lot of his ideas from Dan Kennedy. Okay, if you're not familiar with Dan Kennedy, there's some other books here on his. As a Man Thinketh, this is a really good book, just one of the classics of how to think. We kind of become what we think. Ari has some great books. It's called The Art of Less Doing. Now, with him, this is where I learned all these ideas about doing like follow-up then, my email, where you send a follow-up then and it reminds you via text message. He also has these ideas of time blocking. And this is where I block all my time. For example, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays are when I'm going to do my interviews. Mondays is when I record my weekly podiatry practice mastery update and things like that. So he teaches like this time blocking techniques, and really the idea of not doing more, but doing less, kind of getting rid of all the things that you really don't have to do. But this is a great book. The Checklist Manifesto by Atul Gawande. This was a good book. This is where kind of the idea, where I validated my idea of the patient presentations with that checklist in there. And he talks about, he's a surgeon, and he talks about the idea of using checklists, our pre-surgical checklist that we do when we're in the OR. Okay, great book. Traffic Secrets. This is a way to get traffic to your site. So a way to get patients to your site. It's a great idea. It talks about providing value. This is where the idea of providing these different types of online books, online courses, and things like that can work very well for you. So I haven't, this is when I download because it was free. I haven't finished this one. This was a good book about necessary endings. This is a way, if you have a hard time quitting things, I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs will start new things, but we can't just stop other things. Like it's kind of a challenge. You want to leave it just in case. You don't want to miss out. Both in relationships and other types of things. This was a very good book. Storyworthy, I really liked this book. This is a book that talks about telling stories and how to get better at it. And this is where I had the idea of the case study. So when after a patient has a good outcome, what I'll do is I will write that down, kind of what that outcome is, and I'll share it with others in a video. So what I'll do is I'll say, what was like it before, what's it like now? And I'll tell that story. And then I'll go through kind of whatever that diagnosis. For example, recently I had a patient that used balance braces, and they had a really good experience. And then so I would tell that story for them. That's Storyworthy. It just teaches you how to tell stories. I think it's important to tell stories. You can do that with your podcast or however you want to learn, or even when you're sharing it with patients. Okay. Haven't read these. I did read this. Napoleon Hill, he has a lot of kind of repetitive topics, but they're very good to kind of, some people call it like a dental floss for your mind, kind of working on your ideas. Haven't read this one yet. These ones I've downloaded because they were free. Okay. This was one of my favorite books this whole year. It was called The Ultimate Sales Machine. If you haven't read this by Chet Holmes, this is a great idea. He talks about developing your Dream 100. And basically these are that dream. These are all my referral doctors that refer to me. And this is where I had the idea of sending out a monthly print newsletter to them, and then providing something of value to them, some type of a benefit to them. And he also talks about ways of getting through issues, meaning like how to process difficult things and get difficult things done by really be consistently getting it done. He talks about this like pig-headed discipline and diligence. But this was a great read. A lot of these I have to read. This is the one I would read twice or three times. This is Dan Kennedy. He's got a lot of great resources. This is about the ultimate sales letter, learning how to write better. So as we're writing things in emails and we want patients to take action, this is a good book. Subscribed. This is the idea of a subscription mentality. Like everything is going towards subscribe. And I think podiatry is really going to go towards subscription. And one of my ideas was making a subscription model to orthotics, for example. So every 3 or 5 years, it's going to be on a subscription. So instead of paying $550, which we charge, what you would charge them is maybe $50 or $30 a month, and they would just get a new pair every 5 years. And you would have other benefits to that. This was another great book by Robert Ringer. I never heard of him. It's called Winning Through Intimidation, but it's really not about that. It's about how to be successful in life. And he has a couple of key caveats of how to live. They're so important. I've actually written them in my journal. It's the other one that I have, my gratitude journal, that's upstairs. But he's got some great ideas where he talks about like everything in life happens to you, and what you do with it is more important than what happens. He also has kind of a neat idea of kind of a shock and awe presentation. So when he meets someone, he used to send them this wonderful like binder with a lot of information. This was my idea for the shock and awe, to see how it actually worked, but he had a really good book. This is The 5 Dysfunctions of the Team is a really good book for your practice in terms of how to relate and interact with other people. This is Profit First, is a way of making sure that you are profitable in your practice. This was a good book. Once again, Russell Brunson, another one, Expert Secrets, how to convert your online visitors to be customers. This was a really good, once again, you can see Russell's books here. The Business of Expertise. This is one that talks about how to take your ideas and turn them into products. So for example, within a plantar fasciitis, making like a plantar fasciitis product, or any other type of product that you're wanting to develop. As I'm doing patient podiatry practice mastery, I'm using these ideas, and it teaches you how to make like not just ideas, but make these into like actual worksheets and things like that that have a better value. Robert also has another book called $1 Million Habits. This was a really good book. I would recommend this highly to you if you want to add these good habits in your life. This was the long book. I haven't read it yet, the whole thing. I have 14 hours left in this, the new rules of marketing and PR. This is one that's always in the back burner. This was one on relationships. So I don't just read podiatry or business. This is a really good, The 5 Languages of Love, good one for relationships. I just a quick story about this one. When we got married, I had this auto subscribe thing for flowers every week for 52 weeks, right, for our first year of marriage. And then he talks about gifts, right? So I was giving my wife gifts, thinking that's what she wanted. And then in this book, he talks about acts of service. What she really wanted me to do was to wash the dishes and take care of the kids. And so I stopped the flowers because that really wasn't her language, love. But this is even important as well, how you deal with your kids and also your patients, because some patients like words of affirmation. Some patients like to be, you touch their legs, touch their feet. They just like to be encouraged. There's different ways. This was a good book. The Compound Effect from Darren Hardy. What I like about this is like the non-fluff, because a lot of these motivational people, they don't really give you practical things, but Darren, he has a lot of practical ideas of things that actually work, not just the fluff stuff, but actually things that you can put in practice. Richard Feynman, someone told me about this guy. He's a PhD physicist, and he has a lot of good books about just his life. And he's kind of a character. So surely you're joking, Mr. Feynman. These are ones, once again, I listen on the weekends. Tools of Titans. This was a huge book by Tim Ferriss. I love anything that Tim produces, and he's got a lot of really great ideas. Long book to read, but you might like it. I have a couple of hours left in that. Michael Gerber. I really like Michael Gerber's books. He wrote The E-Myth. This is another example of a book. Psychocybernetics. This is a classic. If you haven't read it, it's a good book to learn how like the mind works, especially with visualization. The Ultimate Sandler Sales Library. This was a good book. It talks about the Sandler selling method. I like to read and study different types of sales books. As a Man Thinketh. This was a good book as well. You should read one of the classics. I like some like self-help books. This was a good one. The Gifts of Imperfection. This was great. Okay. She talks, Brene Brown has great stuff. Help my relationship. The most important thing is I learned from this one is I say, hey, the conversation in my head is this and this. So without judging someone, I can say this, for example, if a patient, they look like they're upset. I say, the conversation in my head is you're really upset with something with our office or with your surgical outcome. Is that correct? Versus, otherwise these are hard topics to discuss. So she talks a lot about that. She talks a lot about being authentic and dealing with life things. Another good book by Jimmy Evans is Marriage on the Rock. Very good way to work kind of on your marriage. One of his big things is you have to have like random acts of kindness for your spouse during the day, things like that, just constantly doing that. This was a really good book. If you haven't read anything by Joe Polish, he was the one that first influenced me actually within marketing. And he had this I Love Marketing podcast that I listened to. And this was one of his books. Now, this is 8 hours of pure genius if you apply it. One of the big problems with a lot of marketing stuff is like, it's just overwhelming to apply. So you have to kind of have a system of how you're going to apply things and don't try to do too much. And that's where this coaching stuff has really helped me out to kind of limit what I do, to not do too much. Influence, Robert Cialdini. This is a great book that talks about like the psychology of influencing even our patients. We have to influence them to do what's right for them. Like, for example, to stay off their foot if they have an ulcer, to foam roll if they have plantar fasciitis, and other types of stuff like that. Okay, we're halfway there. This is another book called The Beautiful Brain. This was their podcast. They have some different podcasts. This talks about concussion injuries. I thought this was interesting. If you haven't listened to anything by Earl Nightingale, he has got some great classics, kind of mental attitude, positivity. Jim Rohn as well has a classic about mindset. I think these are great things to listen to. Now, if you haven't listened to Jay Abraham, he is a great guy, talks about a lot of great business ideas. 93 referral systems. If you just apply one of these to get more referrals, it's going to be worth it. Like these books, they're $10 a piece. I think I spend $10 or $15 a month for Audible, and it's just been great. The Man on Top of the Mountain, the Mastermind. So Jay also has this idea of the mastermind marketing system where he talks about different pillars. So you add one pillar, then another pillar, then another pillar. Great content. I like some eating things. So this is In Defense of Food, talking about eating correctly. Now, this was a great book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. This is a way of like, if you look at something and it doesn't spark joy, you get rid of it. So even within our office, within our business and things that we do, good book. Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business was a great book as well. Talks about how to set up your business in like an EOS type of a system. So this was a very good book as well. Now we're getting into some of the health things that I like to read. So The Complete Guide to Fasting, The Obesity Code, both of these are talks about intermittent fasting. Great book. This has changed my life. It's seriously. So I do 2 workouts Mondays and Fridays, and then I don't eat. I eat dinner Monday through Friday. So that's what I do. And I eat it normal on the weekends. I don't kind of pick what I eat. I just eat whatever. I usually eat good stuff, but this has just made my life so much easier. A few things you should realize, a lot of these, they have downloadable PDFs as well with a lot of the information. So, and a really good hack, okay, if you really want to be productive, is you buy the book, the Audible, and then you do the Kindle at the same time. So you read it and listen to it at the same time because your comprehension just boosts. That's a great hack. Okay. Getting more. I haven't quite finished this. This was one about how to negotiate. This is one on church history. This was a good one by Daniel Kahneman. He's got a lot of really good books. Talks about think fast, think slow. This is a really good way of just understanding the importance of writing. This is where I started to write a lot more, and I do my thinking on paper now, and very good book. White Coat Investor, good book about investing for doctors. Kind of talks about just you have to invest. 1-2-3 Magic. This is a good parenting book when our children were younger. 80-20 Sales and Marketing. So 80-20 is the Pareto principle. He's got a lot of, Perry Marshall has a lot of great ideas on marketing, how to make it much more efficient. Simon Sinek, great books. Start with Why. ABC's Real Estate Investing, great book. So my first house I bought was a 3-story, and all the pipes started to go the first year. And I realized I'm not really good at fixing things. So I sold that house, but I thought I wanted to be a real estate mogul in the past. Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World, really good book on sales. Unfair Advantage, Robert Kiyosaki. I've read a lot of his books. A couple of them I have them Audible. I used to read the physical books. I used to buy books, but now I tend to listen to them more. The 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch, similar to the 80-20 Sales and Marketing. Great idea. I think it's good to focus on the vital few because we can't do everything. So you have to cut out all the clutter. Crush It, Gary Vaynerchuk, great book, talks about creating content. I've been inspired by him in terms of making videos. Rich Dad, Poor Dad Summary, and then Oh Jerusalem, and then Rework. Those are the books. Wow, that was a lot of stuff. So I would say, if you don't have Audible, I'll put a little link here underneath it. I think you always get the first book free. So if you've never done that, don't be a tightwad. Okay. I spend, I don't know, maybe $1,000 on books a year. It so much worth it. So if you have to invest in yourself. It's an investment. Another thing that I invest in, now we're going to get to here as we're finishing up. I promise this is going to be a long one. Sorry about that. Dan Sullivan. Okay. This is the guy I get coached from. But if you want to learn about some of the books, these are some great concepts. Let me share these concepts. I'll start at the bottom here. Wanting What You Want. This is a good, real simple books that he has. This is a book that talks about learning how to want versus need. Okay, we have to want what we want for the future. The 4 C's is a book about confidence. So basically, to get confidence, you have to have commitment, courage, and capability. Really good read. The Ambition Scorecard. This is his time frame of looking at things in a 25-year framework. So you have to really only increase 1% a quarter to improve your life greatly. Good one. Procrastination priority is basically what you procrastinate is probably what you should be working on. So make your procrastination list your to-do list. The self-managing company, a way to make your business more self-managing. The mindset scorecard is how your mindset works. He talks about 10xing things. It's easier to grow 10x than it is 2x. ABC model. I'm not going to go through all these. This is a great one. This is the impact filter. I use this to filter a lot of my ideas. I used to just do things, but now I tend to think about them first because I just don't have enough time to do everything. Okay. Another one is a strategy circle. This is another great concept that he has of how to work on things. So basically you look at your obstacles and you make solutions. So once again, I do all these things in my journaling. And yeah, so these are some other books. I would really, these are all free. You just put your email and they'll probably send you some try to get you to go to coach. I think I spend between $6,000 and $8,000 a year. It's certainly worth it. We meet every quarter. It's kind of like a mastermind. I think eventually I would like to do that with Podiatry Practice Mastery. I just don't have the bandwidth right now, and he does a much better job at it. So if you wanted to join, I think you can. You might find it good. It's a great investment. You should always be investing in your future. I'm going to put a link here. These are the top 50 books for entrepreneurs, and this is that impact filter. So if you want to see how that works, you can do that. And here's some books. You can just look on his website. There's a lot of other things here. I've read this one, The Blue Ocean Strategy, The E-Myth Revisited. Where are some other ones here? Traction, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. This is a good one that I've read as well. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, another good book. So what you can see here, like people that are winners or like successful, they tend to read because otherwise you don't know what's available for you. This is a good one. Personality Isn't Permanent. And so, yeah. Anyway, these are some good books that he recommends as well. I've read The Happiness Effect. And finally, here are some worksheets. Now, this is something that I never knew about, and I tend to do this now in my journal. Okay, I write down these. I have these. I know how to do these. I don't use the worksheets anymore because I like it all in one place. But these are a couple of topics. One is the positive focus, which I use a lot. Basically, you have your achievement, why, further progress, and first action. You can do this also for gratitude, what you're grateful for, why, how you can show that gratitude in your actions. So this is a way of building on what's already working. It helps your confidence. And then he also has this impact filter, which I use pretty much every single day. And there's a abbreviated one. But basically with the impact filter, you look at what you want to do, why you want to do it, what would be an ideal outcome, what's the best that can happen, worst that can happen, and what needs to be successful for it to be true. I know I went through that a lot because I don't teach this stuff, but I use it every single day when I'm journaling and working through things. So once again, I think we went through a lot here. This is my bonus to you. My bonus is learn. Okay. I can't learn for you. I love to hash these ideas and give these to you, like chewed up. But really, for you to improve, you have to improve yourself. And no one's going to push you to improve. Like we all have to do continuing education within podiatry, our surgical training and things like that. But like the best thing you can work on is yourself. So I would really encourage you. And once again, I want to thank you for sharing things with other people. That's why I'm giving you this special training. If I could do it over again, like the one thing I would do is I would read one book a week. Okay. It's going to make you better. And then I would journal about what I'm learning and then try to apply that. I think we kind of get overwhelmed with too many things and we kind of get overcommitted. So you have to do the 80-20, basically. You have to kind of simplify things. And so kind of don't do everything because you can't do everything well, just kind of simplify things. But once again, thank you so much. Certainly, if you want to reach out to me, go to Podiatry Practice Mastery. There's a way you can contact me. I'd be happy to help, happy to chat, happy to interview you. If you have other books that you think should be on here, let me know. Okay. Once again, thank you so much. Okay. Have a great day.